Veteran actor Sir John Hurt has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. The 75-year-old, who was Oscar-nominated for his role in 1980's The Elephant Man, said he would continue working despite the diagnosis. "I am undergoing treatment and am more than optimistic about a satisfactory outcome, as indeed is the medical team," he told the Press Association. Hurt, who starred as the War Doctor in Doctor Who in 2013, added he would continue with his professional work. "I am continuing to focus on my professional commitments and will shortly be recording Jeffrey Bernard Is Unwell, one of life's small ironies." For BBC Radio 4, he said. The actor said wanted to announce his diagnosis to the press because he had always been open about the way in which I conduct my life, and in that spirit I would like to make a statement. The prolific actor is due to be seen on the small screen in November in new Sky Atlantic drama The Last Panthers, opposite Samantha Morton. He also has roles in some 7 other projects, according to IMDb, including the upcoming Tarzan film, due for release next year. Sir John was seen last year in the Dwayne Johnson film Hercules, and also appeared as the War Doctor in the iconic Day of the Doctor episode, for the show's 50th anniversary in 2013. Among his other best-known roles include 1978's Midnight Express, for which he was also Oscar-nominated, and the 1975 TV series The Naked Civil Servant, which earned him a BAFTA TV award. He was also BAFTA-nominated for his role in Ridley Scott's Alien, the film which famously saw the titular creature burst out of the actor's stomach and has often been described as one of cinema's most memorable moments. But many consider Sir John's performance as the deformed Joseph Merrick in The Elephant Man as his greatest role. He was knighted earlier this year for his services to drama. The government has moved to try and head off rebellions by Conservative MPs over the timing of an EU referendum and the rules for a future campaign. Ministers have conceded the poll will not be held on May 5, 2016, the same day as elections to devolved parliaments in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. They will also amend planned changes to PERDA rules, which limit government announcements in the run-up to polls. Ministers said voters must be assured the referendum would be a fair fight. The concessions came ahead of the first day of detailed debate on the EU referendum bill, which will authorise an in-out referendum on the UK's membership of the European Union by the end of 2017. Follow all the EU referendum debate developments on Politics Live. While the bill is backed by the overwhelming majority of MPs, the government is facing opposition within its own ranks and more widely in Parliament over a number of issues, including the date of the referendum and the conduct of the campaign preceding it. Timing. Although he has yet to name a date for the poll, David Cameron had not ruled out holding it next May, at the same time as national and local elections in Scotland and Wales, elections to the Northern Ireland Assembly, English council elections and London's mayoral election. But in an email to Tory MPs, Europe Minister David Lidington said the bill would be amended to explicitly rule this out. The bill sets out a requirement to hold the referendum by the end of 2017 at the latest, and the Prime Minister has always been clear that if we can hold it earlier then we will, he wrote. This has led to a great deal of speculation that the government intends to hold the referendum in May 2016 in combination with elections to Scottish Parliament and Welsh and Northern Irish assemblies. I can confirm that this is not the case. Conservative backbenchers are also angry that existing rules governing the conduct of elections and referendums could be relaxed in a way which they say would allow the government to use its resources to influence the outcome of the vote. The Political Parties, Elections, and Referendums Act 2000 sets out a 28-day period ahead of a referendum, during which ministers, government departments, and local authorities are banned from publishing material relating to the issue in question. Prime Minister David Cameron has proposed suspending these rules, arguing the government will not be neutral when it comes to the referendum and they would mean ministers were barred from speaking about European Court decisions and the EU budget. Clear and robust. In his letter, Mr. Lidington defended the move, saying the rules as they stood could prevent ministers conducting day-to-day business. but he said the government had no intention of spending public money to deliver mail-shots to households in the last 4 weeks of the campaign and would offer amendments in other areas to command the widest possible support. The BBC's deputy political editor James Landale said this was designed to assure MPs that the government would not be able to use public funds to back a yes vote to stay within the EU. We will work with colleagues over the next few months to understand their specific areas of concern and put beyond any doubt that the campaign will be conducted throughout in a manner that all sides will see as fair, Mr. Lidington wrote. Working out a system that will reassure colleagues and voters that the referendum is a fair fight, yet will preserve the government's ability to act in the national interest is not straightforward. It is important that it is legally clear and robust. Ministers are considering issuing a code of conduct aimed at reassuring rebels that they would not abuse the power of the Whitehall machine during the campaign. But Conservative MP Bernard Jenkins said ministers should simply accept an amendment being tabled on Monday stating that the PERDA rules should be reinstated in full. Why don't they cut themselves some slack by accepting the amendment and conceding that there needs to be PERDA in this referendum, he told the BBC. Put that in the bill now and that would give reassurance. That is an issue of principle which they could put in the bill now and amend at a later date if they need to. The existing rules, he added, had been applied to every referendum staged in the past 15 years and had been endorsed by both the Electoral Commission and the Committee on Standards in Public Life. And former Conservative Defence Secretary Liam Fox said to change the rules on PERDA for the government's benefit was unseemly, and unless there was a rethink, he could vote against his party in a whip division for the first time in 23 years. Labour said they were not in the same position as Tory rebels over the issue but did want clarity about how the government would operate during the referendum period. The opposition has also welcomed the decision to rule out the May 2016 date. Last week, MPs overwhelmingly backed plans for a referendum, allowing the legislation to move to the next stage of its progress through Parliament. It still has several more stages to pass through, however.